Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Top 10 edition of Magic Mike's, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Happy summer.
Ruben Bressler.
Hail Satan.
Jeez, dude. I know
Ruben,
it's hot.
Have our demons.
It's the demons. It's the demons episode. What do you want from me? It's time to, thank our Lord and Savior.
Well,
we don't have our demons. It's fine.
Right.
I'm in Florida. It is hot as hell here. We're currently baking in whatever god-awful temperature it got this week.
God-awful. I love all the god demon puns. This is great.
Well, we also began with our choice of the top comment from last week in a segment we call Honourable Mention, where Ruben will tell us who was the most luxuriant and letting us know what card we did not choose as one of our top 10 Modern Horizons cards. Ruben?
This week's winner is Screw This In, who writes, I'm surprised that any of the ninjas aren't on Evan's list. This is one of the cards that signaled a return of ninjas. When you think of a good ninja, you would think that a 2/2, when it hits a player, you draw a card. If you don't know which card I'm talking about, that is Ninja of the Deep Hours. This card saw a lot of play and is also on MTGO cubes for Ruben's criteria. You would say, isn't Ninja of the Deep Hours from Betrayers of Kamigawa? What's better than drawing one card when you can draw multiple cards? If you have multiple ninjas that hit your opponents, you can draw cards for that many ninjas for the same mana cost and the same ninjutsu cost, except adding a black mana to them. He makes all your ninjas a Ninja of the Deep Hours. My honorable mention is Ingenious Infiltrator.
Wow. All right.
Here you go.
That's a wonderful little card right there. Ingenious Infiltrator is a black, a blue, and 2 generic mana for a 2/3 uncommon Vidalcan Ninja. It's the one with the upside down ninja on it. With ninjutsu of a black and a blue, which means for a black and a blue, you return an unblocked attacker you control to hand. Put this card onto the battlefield from your hand tapped and attacking. And whenever a ninja you control deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. And that is that's a damn fine uncommon. Super cool ninja card. I will take all the ninjas. Thank you so much. Have had winners, I guess, and or listeners, who've contacted us about not being able to get a hold of you, Aaron. And if you've done that and you're listening to my voice, please don't feel free to hit me up one more time on Twitter. I think I've lost the message to time, but hit us up. We can make that stuff happen. Obviously,
As a person on Reddit, they literally just messaged me. So
right,
that's good.
A little late, don't hurt nobody.
Well, this might not be the same person.
Okay,
I'm not
right.
sure.
We've had some pretty clever ways of past winners attempting to get in touch with us. From leaving, starting a Reddit thread,
posting baby pictures.
Right, there you go. To coming up to us in person at an event was a good one. Yeah, we've had some pretty interesting ones. I don't know how you could beat those, but please try not to and just message to the inbox. But
Screw This In. Thank you so much for your comment, and of course, Cool Stuff Inc. for sponsoring this giveaway. That was awesome, and I love a ninja wherever I can get it.
Right,
but we are here to talk about the demons. We have our top 10 angels. Well, it's demon time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also, we're literally all over each other's toes. This is insane. And there's hires and sames everywhere. And everyone's got hires and everyone has the same, I think.
I think everyone has 4 hires and everyone has at least 1 same.
That's wild.
Well, that includes me. So I ain't kicking off number 10 with nothing. Ruben, do you have a number 10?
Nope, sure don't. Look, it's going to be a short episode this week, friends. There's only 100 demons. For the iconic creature type that it is, of being the big black creature type, like the angel equivalent or the dragon equivalent. And honestly, we had the same problem with angels and dragons. There just aren't that many.
Yeah.
Well, I figured you two would find a way to game the system of you would pick
yeah, we'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get there.
No.
Well, yeah, we've both gotten there, and it's probably lower on my list and higher on his.
Right.
Aaron.
But that's higher on, my 10 is higher on someone else's list.
Do we have our first ever non-starter number 10, Aaron?
I'm going to be sitting this out till number 8. My 10 and my 9 are both higher.
My 9 is also higher.
I got to bring it home for number 9?
Yeah, wow.
Holy.
We pitched a shutout through 5 innings. That was pretty good.
Goodness gracious. All right. Well, look, once upon a time, there was a crazy set that Mark Rosewater was like, it's not really going to work. It's too ridiculous to work. And it was called Unglued. Made a bunch of weird jokey cards. He said it was so silly and ridiculous that, can't possibly have that, be in Magic. So it was a bunch of crazy stuff. You care about your shoe size and your age and stuff like that. And one of the cards in it was an itty bitty squirrel. We called Infernal Spawn of Evil, which was a 9-mana 7/7 flying first strike that you could reveal it, pay a black and a generic mana and reveal it from your hand and say, it's coming. And it deals 1 damage to target opponent or planeswalker. You can only do that during your upkeep and only once each turn. So that's silly. But when they went to go make another unset, this being Unhinged, and it was all about the jackasses and stuff, and isn't but funny. They made a different one. They decided to make the Infernal Spawn of the Infernal Spawn of Evil, which is in fact the creature Demon Child. This is a 2 black, 8 generic mana, 10 mana total, 8/8 rare Demon Child.
Yes.
With flying, first strike, and trample. And if you say, I'm coming too, as you search your library, you may pay a black and generic mana and reveal it from your library to have it deal 2 damage to a player of your choice. Do this no more than once each turn.
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Yeah.
And Ron Spencer, it's just in the artwork of the dad coffee mug, and this is gold.
Yeah, the black mana's best dad,
spectacular.
Terrific.
It's also nice that they did a callback to their own joke.
Mm-hmm.
There's first of all, this is a dad joke supreme. So calling back to your own bad joke to begin with is quite nice.
It's very nice. And that is in fact a Demon Child. Awesome. All right, cool. So that was fun. I'll see you guys in 3 numbers or so. Really excited. We'll see you guys later. All right, so that was my number 9. Let's move on here to my not my number 8. I ain't got any of these. I got hires and saves for days. Ruben, what's your number 8?
My number 8, I think Aaron is going to like my number 8 in particular. There are very few demons that have competitive pedigree, yet one of them saw a good amount of play in not only mono black aggro, but also in Constellation. It was most popular in the Abzan mid-range decks just because it was a good card by itself. My number 8 is Herald of Torment. Herald of Torment is a colorless black for an enchantment creature demon. It is a 3/3 with bestow of 3 colorless, a black and a black, 5 total. If you cast this for its bestow cost, it's an aura spell with enchant creature. It becomes a creature again if it's not attached to a creature. It has flying. The enchanted creature also gets +3/+3 and has flying. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life. This card is most notable, of course, in the Abzan mid-range decks. It was just a good thing to follow up on your Siege Rhino. It did, of course, very nearly win a Pro Tour in the Constellation deck. It saw a little bit of popularity in decks that utilized the Devotion mechanic for mono black, although the 3 drops in mono black were Hero's Downfall and Make a Pack Rat token. So this didn't really take off in that deck, but saw a little bit more play in decks that wanted to use Eidolon of Blossoms as a big beater, and has the classic you lose a life at the beginning of your upkeep demon text.
Yeah. There was a deck towards the end of Thero Standard that was really low to the ground black creatures. It was Bloodstained Champion, Gnarled. There was a Gnarled Hide. It was really, really low to the ground.
Right.
And was sort of the top end of the curve where you would either suit up one of your little creatures and make it a big thing, or it was just fine by itself. And I loved Bestow. We've seen hints that we might be going back to Theros in core set Magic 20 and 20, and I'm really excited for that. So always happy to see a Constellation card and good stuff.
So it's a Born of the Gods rare, so it's worth exactly 15 cents right now. It quickly turned to trash, as a lot of those cards. Born of the Gods was bad. That was a bad set, y'all. Yeah. It was a cool card. I think it's neat. I don't think Bestow is going to be coming back either. I think it's a little too complicated.
I loved Bestow. It made the drawback of auras targeting your own creatures not so much of a drawback.
And that was nice. That was nice.
Constellation, I'd be so happy.
Yeah. Aaron, what's number 8?
So my number 8 is a commander staple. If I'm playing any deck that has black in it and can afford to cast this card, I'm probably running this. Commander loves them some tutors. No matter what color you're playing, you always want the ability to search up your pieces, whatever they might be. And if there happens to be a really, really big body attached to it, and unconditional tutoring, so much the better. My number 8 is Runescarred Demon. So Runescarred Demon is 5 colorless and 2 black. It's a creature type demon, 6/6 flying, which I'll take. I'm in. On top of that, when it enters the battlefield, you can search your library for any card, no clauses, and put it in your hand and shuffle your library. This is amazing. This is still a $5-6 card. Was recently printed in, I think, Ultimate Masters?
Iconic Masters.
Iconic Masters, thank you. But still, I have it in my Marchesa deck. I have it in my Rakdos deck. I have it in my, it's just an amazing card that just does exactly what you want to be doing. And even if there's nothing you're really in the mood to tutor, you still get a big beater that someone has to deal with. I love it.
It's Demonic Tutor on a 6/6 flyer. So it's like, what's your rate on a 6/6 flyer? I guess 5 mana, I guess, these days. 2 more mana, go Demonic Tutor?
Yeah.
Even sees play in a very obscure version of Vintage Oath, where you use Oath of Druids to get these, and then you chain them, and then you just win with a bunch of demons. It's hilarious and very hard to get to work, but if you can, it's great.
Man, some people's children, I'll tell you what. Demon is great, though.
7, come on.
Yeah, exactly. I love Runescarred Demon. I think it's like the ideal core set, like big mythic demon. It's really just a great, just all around design.
Yeah, it's a good, as a rare, this was in my cube immediately. This is a great reanimation target. This is just a giant monster that goes and finds you the answer to whatever you're worried about. Like, there's no downside, particularly in casual for Runescarred. It's terrific. All right, so let's move here to number 7. Don't worry, I don't have one. Maybe one day. Ruben, what's number 7?
So my number 7, it gets buried in how ubiquitous it was, because it was actually the second best 2-drop in the deck that it was most popular in. But it was pretty ubiquitous, and it was a very popular card, and it saw 4 of play, and it has a line of creature types that is super interesting and unique, particularly to me as a fantasy nerd and a Dungeons and Dragons player, because the combination of Cat Demon and talking about Rakshasas, a super unique combination that evokes old Hindu mythology and, of course, the backwards paws, fanged beasts that are also shapeshifters from Dungeons and Dragons. In this particular case, I'm talking about the Rakshasa Deathdealer. Rakshasa Deathdealer is a black and a green. It is a cat demon, originally from Khans of Karakir. It's a 2/2 for 2. Pay a black and a green : it gets +2/+2 till end of turn, and pay a black and a green : regenerate Rakshasa Deathdealer. One of the myriad of excellent mana sinks available to the Abzan midrange deck that most notably top-aided a bunch of Pro Tour or Grand Prix and Pro Tour events. Not nearly as good as Fleecemane Lion, probably. Even on occasion was overshadowed by Heir of the Wilds. But Rakshasa Deathdealer, I think, well deserving of at least a mention here in this top 10.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Abzan was so good that there were cards that would come out that you would have thought would go into the deck, and they weren't good enough. Like, there was actual, the deck was just so polished and so refined and good at what it did that, and I think this was one of the cards that people assumed would have been fit in. And I think it even then saw occasional play. There were just better things to do. But look at that card, though. This is not a bad card.
Right.
It's a great card.
Right. So it blew my mind that this card didn't see more play, because it's how is this not good enough?
Remember when we had Regenerate? Wasn't that a weird, silly,
weird time?
It's kind of awkward to look back on it, because Regenerate's always so hard to explain, and they didn't even bother. They're just Regenerate it. It's rare. You'll figure it out.
Yeah,
it's fine. I like Cat Demons though. Those are really neat.
Yeah, very cool.
Aaron, what's number 7?
My number 7 is a huge demon that I love. Recently came out in Battle Bond. Immediately skyrocketed in price. It's currently a $15, $20 card right now. And it's just annoying and painful and big, and you must deal with it. And I love being that girl that reminds people of it. My number 7 is Archfiend of Despair. So Archfiend of Despair is 6 colorless and 2 black, which again, I ain't paying for, but we'll get to that later. Creature type demon, flying 6/6, which is fine. And then it says your opponents can't gain life. Fine. Still with you. Oh, wait, there's another paragraph. At the beginning of each end step, every single end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. So if I pass the turn and you fetch, excuse me, you fetched.
Yeah.
That's right.
Everyone loses a life.
You attack somebody that's not me. Okay, you hit her for 4. Oh, sorry, it's your end step. You took 4. You can take 4 again. Like, I love that. This card is nasty. The art is nasty. You have this big, grinning, green Rakdos demon swinging hooked like a cat of nine tails or something at you. This card is just vicious, and I love everything about it.
At the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. Right. So it's a wound reflection.
Yep, and it ain't you.
Which is already an enchantment that costs 6.
Yep.
I mean, isn't wound reflection also like infinite dollar? Yeah, $22 because they won't reprint it. So
but even just hitting with this thing alone, like I can't tell you how many times I've swung for 6 and you're now taking 6 more. Like just by itself is fine, but like if you guys are just doing your own thing, every turn.
Yeah. I mean, basically you took wound reflection and you added 2 mana to it to have it be a flying 6/6 and your opponents can't gain life.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good
a lot.
God, that card is amazing. And Battle Bond continues to prove to be one of the best sets in a long time.
I love Battle Bond so much.
Yeah, they crushed it. All right, well, again, I'll see you guys in a couple picks or so. I don't got a number 6. Ruben, what's your number 6?
You may not have one at number 6, Evan, but I think that my number 6 is sort of like an invitational choice for you because we had a disagreement about this card when it came out. I said, this is not great. I don't think this is going to see much play. And you said, no, this one's a good one. This will see play and it's going to be scary. And I think that we were like in the middle, but it was closer to your end. I think that more people are latching onto it. It's a $5 mythic, still in standard. And it sees play, especially as your go-to big beastly 5-drop in your Golgari mid-range decks. My number 6 is Doom Whisperer.
My number 10.
My number 9.
Nice. Awesome. Doom Whisperer is 3 colorless black for a 6/6 nightmare demon, flying and trample. Just already
Flample.
Flample. Yep. Not to mention the fact that you can pay 2 life and surveil 2, which is you look at the top 2 cards of your library, then put them back in any order into your graveyard or on top of your library or whatever, which allows you to essentially usually pay 4 to 6 life and demonic tutor. So even if it dies immediately, you are still able to get something that you want the next turn.
And somehow this thing is not running standard.
Right.
I remember when we were doing the arena preview event and I had this card and I saw the lights, like I was doing it and I was like, no. And chat was like, do it again. And I was like, no. Yeah. And then they were like, do it again. And I was like, I couldn't stop.
Anytime anything has a keyword ability that doesn't cost mana, it's just like, how is this ever fair?
So dumb.
Like, it's so nice.
It's just crazy because you have something with those type of stats. And I put it as my number 10. I feel like it was definitely in the conversation for the best ones. Wizards clearly pushed numbers, like went from probably 6 mana to 5 mana. Maybe
and pushed Dimir too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This was supposed to be one of the key marquee cards and has so many of the right numbers, but just isn't the right card for what standard needs.
I mean, you could be, when you look at what Doom Whisperer is trying to do, okay, you could do what Phoenix does, or you could play Dreadhorde and bring back a board full of Planeswalkers. Like, it's just not good enough, which is weird. But yeah, here we are.
Which is, this is 2019 Magic, y'all. Which is Doom Whisperer. Yeah, could have been a contender.
I mean, it's like the third or fourth most
fine.
expensive mythic in the set still, you know.
Yeah.
Which is good. Aaron, what's number 6?
So I am a recent convert to my number 6. I've been the Golgari girl for as long as I can remember. I've dabbled in Orzhov a little bit, but only in the last couple sets have I really taken to the Rakdos Guild. I played Rakdos with the pre-release. I had a lot of fun. I'm going to be playing spoiler alert, we're playing a little Rakdos character in a future D&D module, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And I just love the Rakdos, and I love them so much that I had to build a commander deck around it. I wanted the most flavorful, I wanted to go to the circus, and this card allowed me to do that. And number 6 is Rakdos Lord of Riots. So Rakdos Lord of Riots is 2 black and 2 red for a 6/6 flying trample. How's that possible? Well, you can't cast it unless an opponent lost life this turn. So this is kind of like Spectacle before Spectacle was a thing. And then creature spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast for each 1 life your opponents have lost this turn. Remember those big old demons I've covered before? Yeah. Do you know how good it feels to pay 2 for a Runescar demon? Do you know how good it feels to pay 2 for an Archfiend of Despair? I have done that. It feels amazing. I love everything about this commander, trying to find neat ways to like cast him, where it's like, okay, I'm going to use this Rot Shepherd. Okay, there's your ping. I'm going to go ahead and cast Rakdos now. Even on its own, it's a 6/6 body. It activates itself. So you swing in for 6. Your next creature costs 6 colorless. Your Emrakul costs, what, 7 at that point? Like this card, I've done stupid things with this card, and I love finding just intricate ways to like get it going. Where okay, you put Rakdos in the command zone. How am I going to deal 1 damage to you? Oh, here's a desert. You know, like just dumb things. And I love everything about this, and I feel so good. I feel like I'm a part of the circus.
I mean, the card's terrific. It was reprinted in the guild kit as the Rakdos, leader, which was terrific.
Awesome.
And I like how Wizards does kind of take these, one-time mechanics they used or one-time sort of creature designs and turn them into an entire mechanic of its own, which was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, as a 4-mana 6/6 flample, I'll take it. It makes everything cheaper. It never really got there in standard, but not for lack of trying.
No.
Just, well.
Yeah, it's tough to guarantee that you can deal an extra damage.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And of course, Azorius was, doing their thing, and it was a little ridiculous.
Ruin everything.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. So let's move on here to number 5. And my God, I got one, but not to myself.
Because we do share a number 5.
My number 5 so it's just 2.
Oh, well, that's cool. We can have a moment.
Good, because I think that this card does deserve its own moment.
I think this card deserves to be in the top 5
I agree.
All-time demons. That's where I put him. I felt like it was just right there. Like it's not the greatest.
No competitive pedigree. Has never done any. I'm not sure I've ever seen one cast outside of just like a kitchen table when I was 12.
Right, but I'll take a $330 alpha card. I'll take one of the most gigantic creatures that existed when the game first came out, that people were super excited to play and to play with. It was certainly a chase rare at the time, because it sucked.
Absolutely.
Like, it had so many drawbacks, but you're like, it's a 7 mana, 7/7 flying trampler. How can that possibly be bad when you're Lord of the Pit? Lord of the Pits, 3 black, 4 generic mana for a 7/7 flying trample at the beginning of your upkeep. Sacrifice a creature other than Lord of the Pit. If you can't, it deals 7 damage to you.
Yeah. My number 10.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I mean, this was the demon that really started it all. This was the one that really set the tone for a lot of the demons on our list. These flying beaters that oftentimes come with a drawback. And you can either let the drawback sort of get to you, or you can just kill them before it starts to matter. And so this is really the one that just started it all. And yeah, I don't think I've ever seen one, played, but you think of the Pit, you think of Lord, and your mind does kind of go back to that place. It's like we talk about ineffable words like that. You hear Pit and you're like, and the Scooby ears go up. And the iconic Masters art was gorgeous. Like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, they really crushed it in that one. And the idea that sort of it's sort of a herald. It's this something to be a spectacle of a monster, which it is, which is terrific. My summoning begins your debt, Planeswalker. Oh,
yeah, what could be more black than that?
Yeah,
that's super cool. You said yours was your number 5 was higher, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy. Oh, fair enough. Round and round we go. To number 4. Ruben, what's your number 4?
My number 4 is actually, I only have 3 hires. Look at that. This is the final hire on my list.
Fair enough. Fine, I'll take this one. This card's fun. This card saw some play. I think nowadays it's more of sort of a novelty almost. At the time, it was huge. People couldn't believe it. It was weird. It was crazy. It was like, why is this card existing? It feels super powerful, but how do you make it like work for you? And you're like, how could you make a demon? Like, you're right. So this is the deal with the demon. All right. The demon says, no matter what happens, there's no sex in the champagne room, but also no matter what happens, you can't win the game. And your opponents can't lose the game in the world with Abyssal Persecutor for 2 black and 2 generic mana. This is a rare demon. I think it was originally a mythic from Worldwake.
Yes.
Yes. 2 black, 2 generic mana for a 6/6 flying trample. You cannot win the game and your opponents cannot lose the game.
Love it.
It's just a big monster beater, but you got to get rid of them.
Yep.
And that was awesome from the very get-go.
Yep.
Card saw play in the blue-black control decks. Was a good top-end card in Jund for about half a second. It's a 6/6 for 4. You can figure out how to get it off the board later. This is the go-to poster child of this thing stands in front of like a Squadron Hawk with a sword. This is the thing that it just holds down the board by itself, and those look like drawbacks, but that's for future me to deal with. I'll make this deal with the demon for now, and sometimes it would come back to bite you. Sometimes you'd lose when your opponent was at -74, when they let you have all of your 6/6s and would counter all of your own go for the throats or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, this thing won more games than it couldn't win games. That makes sense.
Nice. His slaves crave death more than they desire freedom. He denies them both.
Nice. So
same slaves. That's a big mood. What? Did I get maudlin? I apologize.
That's your big slave mood.
Yeah,
Got
I cried in the pre-show. It's fine.
Right. That's my Tinder bio.
Wow.
Aaron, let them know what they're getting into.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Lay of the land, y'all. Lay of the land.
Right.
Aaron, what's your number 4?
I don't play Standard very often. It takes a lot to make me get off the couch and play Standard. But this card, my number 4, certainly contributed to that. This was one of the first cards previewed from Shadows over Innistrad. And, as I mentioned with Spectacle, I like decks that are not only broken, but that come with a bit of a puzzle of how am I going to trigger Spectacle? How am I going to get these cards in my graveyard? What am I going to dredge specifically? How am I going to do this? And with this one, I had a lot of fun with the Delirium mechanic of how am I going to build my deck to maximize Delirium? What am I going to use to get Delirium and all of that? And this card certainly helped with that. My number 4 is Mind Rack Demon. So Mind Rack Demon is 2 colorless and 2 black. It's a creature type demon, 4 power and 5 toughness, which for 4 mana, flying and trample. Again, you'll take it. The second paragraph says, when it enters the battlefield, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. If you were playing Delirium, that is exactly what you wanted to be doing. And then if you have Delirium, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 4 life unless there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard. So if you get a good kill with this, you might not have to pay the drawback. And sometimes you don't even care if you did. This was an amazing beater. A lot of times, especially in the mirror, you can kind of stall the board. And so this was a card that could make a really big difference and did everything you wanted to be doing. Obviously, milling myself is something I'd love to do. I love the art. Obviously, it's like this sort of turned inside out, almost looking demon. I love it. Big fan and got a lot of mileage out of it while it was in Standard.
Yeah,
This was a card that lived in a very recent post-Siege Rhino world. Mm-hmm. And so anytime a creature cost 4 mana and was a 4/5, people were like, is this the next Siege Rhino? It didn't matter what the card actually did. Mm-hmm. And so this got swallowed up by that. Reaper of the Wilds got swallowed up by that. And so it could never really live up to potential. But you're right. This card was spectacular for what it was.
In the Delirium decks?
In the Delirium decks, it was an enabler and a beater and a defensive measure. It was exactly what you wanted to be doing on turn 4.
And you could even you were playing it with Liliana the Last Hope. So that ETB was everything. I'm like, oh, it died.
Right.
And you feed the engine. It was great.
That's awesome. I mean, this card in and of itself as a mythic from Shadows of Innistrad, this was, again, as you said, an enabler, but both a payoff. And like that to me is a terrific mythic. If they hadn't kind of accidentally, if they hadn't accidentally the whole Emrakul, like maybe we could have played more of this card, but like, oops, you made the better Delirium mythic and crap. Sure. It's everywhere.
Not everything can be the best.
Well, until Eldra's Moon, right? That's when Emrakul showed up. So
right.
There you go. All right. Let's see. Move on here to number 3. Ruben, what's number 3?
I am so excited that I get to have this as my number 3 by myself. Because I bet y'all forgot about this one. I bet y'all don't even have this one on your list. I could be mistaken. We'll see. We'll see. But there are a bunch of cards that are popular and good, but they don't all win Worlds. They don't all win Pro Tour level events. They don't all appear in every version of the deck that top 8 at that event, of which there were 4 recurring survival decks in the top 8 at Worlds 1998. Some of them had Birds of Paradise, some of them didn't. Some of them had Wall of Blossoms, some of them didn't. But they all had one copy of a card that was not printed with the creature type demon, but was later errated to be a demon spirit named Spirit of the Night.
Jesus.
Spirit of the Night is the original Emrakul, really. It's 6 colorless, black, black, black for a 6/5 legendary creature demon spirit with flying, trample, haste, protection from black, and first strike as long as it's attacking.
Why?
Yeah. And just like the most bizarre, weird, like avant-garde Cliff Nelson art.
Yeah.
Ever.
First of all, this was my number 8. Thank you very much.
Fair.
Because
fair.
That's right. Game recognizes game. But look, there was another thing that was special about this one, which was the Mondo combo my terrible playing self tried to assemble every time. Urborg Panther, which is also in Mirage, as well as Spirit of the Night, says a few things. One, it's a black and 2 generic mana for a 2/2 that says black, sacrifice it to destroy target creature blocking Urborg Panther. Okay, that sucks. Sacrifice Feral Shadow, Breath Stealer, and Urborg Panther. Don't worry, they're all terrible. Search your library for Spirit of the Night and put it onto the battlefield as put that card on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. So that's what I tried to do a lot. Yeah. And it sucked because all those creatures are terrible. Feral Shadow's a 3-mana 2/1 flyer. Breath Stealer is a 3-mana 2/2 with like the weird Morphling +1/-1 ability, as it were. Those are all terrible creatures even back then. And yeah, you could never really make it. They'd always kill the third creature whenever you played the third creature. You know what I mean? Like they kill one of them and you just never got your cool combo.
I have a confession to make. I have never told this to another living soul. The word association is a thing. Like sometimes you see something and it makes you think of something else, or you see something that makes you hear something. I don't know why. I don't know why I do this. But whenever I look at the card Spirit of the Night, I always imagine some old like nightclub singer going like Spirit of the Night. I don't know why.
Sure.
I don't know why. I just hear that sort of Perry Como voice in my head of just singing and just crooning. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
Wow.
I like it.
Aaron, what's number 3?
My number 3 is the last hire on my list.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, that's cool. I got a number 3 and it was great. And all right. So there's a few great things about how cool this card is. First of all, it started out terrible. Like poopy, like cannot play, card god awful, don't get anywhere close to it because of the way the metagame was kind of shaping up. And later became awesome and became one of the all-stars of the deck that it was featured in, and it was great. And what's even better, the cherry on all of this sundae is that this was my preview card for Return to Ravnica. Desecration Demon is my number 3. I absolutely love it. It's 2 black, 2 generic mana for a 6/6 demon with flying that says at the beginning of each combat, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap Desecration Demon and put a +1/+1 counter on it. Of course, Lingering Souls happen to be literally everywhere all the time in Standard when this showed up in Return to Ravnica. As a result, Zilcho play. Like, cool card for Evan to get excited about, but we're not actually going to play that in Standard, Evan. Just like scoot over and let's let the Lingering Souls just continue on. But one day, Lingering Souls left. And then the other day, they figured out Pack Rat was another card played in Return to Ravnica. Everyone lost their mind, and you have an amazing finisher.
Yeah, absolutely.
So my number 5. I played the black-green rock deck that was legal towards the end of Return to Ravnica Standard. I cried when that deck rotated because I had never had so much success with one deck and enjoyed playing one deck so many times. Morbid was also a thing. So like you were playing Tragic Slips. And so you would have this Desecration Demon. They would sacrifice something like inconsequential, and you'd be like, what, Morbid? And you'd kill the thing you really wanted to kill, and it felt amazing. And then, you know, just seeing them run out of creatures and then have to deal with the 6/6, or, you know, by then it had probably grown a little bit, and so it's like, yeah, I have fun feeding it, but if you can't actually deal with it, it's going to come back and get you. It would get so big that like you could cast Mutilate and it would live, and so you'd get rid of everything. You could also, and I have done this before, you would sacrifice it to Disciple of Bolas. And so
that was a nice one.
Really big, and you're like, fine, I'll just gain 6 and draw 6. Thanks. Like that felt delightful. Like it was so good. So good.
Yeah. This was my number 4. Nice. My most indelible memory of this card happened while we were working at Star City Games together, and I realized why they gave Evan Desecration Demon as the preview card. It's because it taps itself so that you don't have to.
Oh.
Which made me very happy when I realized.
Yeah. So on brand. That's great. Very nice. All right. Cool. All right. So that means we're going to move on here to number 2. Ruben, what is your number 2?
Aaron, at this point, I can only apologize. So this is, now, to be fair, this is less of a BS choice than some of my BS choices, and it is only one card. However, it is the backside of a flip card.
I like that. So, okay.
Wow. And it's the only demon that I could find that has won a Pro Tour, and it actually won 2 different Pro Tours in the hands of Steve Rubin in Celestia Tokens and Jerry Thompson in Zombies. It is a super powerful demon itself. It's a 9/7 with flying, lifelink, indestructible, and haste.
Oh,
which is absurd. However, it does start life as Westvale Abbey. Yes. Westvale Abbey is a land that taps for a colorless. 5 colorless tap, pay 1 life, make a 1/1 black and white human cleric creature token. Also, pay 5 colorless and tap and sacrifice 5 creatures, transform Westvale Abbey, then untap it. And of course, Orbendal, the Profane Prince, is on the back. And that is your 9/7 flying lifelink, indestructible, and haste.
It's this. So well, this was my number 7 because first, this card's amazing. Like, not only was this card fantastic, super playable the whole time, great just to make a little army. Later on, could just turn into a monster and kill you. And I always really loved. This is a weird thing. Like Ormondal, he kind of seems bored. He's like, I'm gonna beat you to death. I guess it's time to kill you now. I'm just gonna kind of come over here and kill you.
The meta was full of creature decks too. So like you had the Cryptolith Rites decks that were running this. You had, I mean, it was not hard to find the bodies. I have it in my She-Ray deck currently because if you want to be sacrificing anything, you sacrifice it all and then She-Ray just brings them back. And so you have to deal with this card. It's just so good, so good. And it also kind of talked about how this was sort of taking Gristle Brand's place. That, you know, when Gristle Brand died, all of these cultists didn't have anyone to really worship, and he was like, "Whoop, I got you!" And like, just cool flavor. Again, them playing with that space of what can we transform into things, and just so good.
And Ormondal's like, all right. He sounds like, you know, one of those people that Aaron impersonates, you know. I'm a 9/7.
And, get some disciples and like, I don't know, take them. Fine.
He's so bored. Oh, Aaron, what's your number 2?
My number 2 is one of those cards that everybody said was bad. It saw like no standard play, no modern play. But in Legacy, it's everything. You haven't lived until you have resolved this on turn 1. My number 2 is Sire of Insanity. So Sire of Insanity is 4 colorless. It's a black and a red. It's a creature type demon. 6/4. 6 power, 4 toughness. And at the beginning of each end step, each player dumps their hand. So you reanimate this on turn 1 and you're like, pass. And then you watch them just discard their hand. and then you beat him to death with a 6/4. It just it feels so good. Like, oh my god, I just can't. I can't.
Yeah, I mean, the issue now, first of all, this is a Dragon's Maze card.
Yeah.
So, and secondly, this is my number 6.
You know what's even better?
It's my number 10.
What's
Nice.
even better is if you pair it with Tidespout Tyrant, you bounce everything.
That's just filthy. Y'all just filthy. What's wrong with y'all?
The look on their face, it's just priceless.
Like, this was a card, I mean, God, man, this is another good example of, like, why was Dragon's Maze so terrible? Why was it so frustrating? Why is it when you have a card this powerful and cool and interesting, and they're like, well, we have War Leader's Helix, we might as well just give you the exact answer you need so you can't have any fun with this for any amount of time. And I'm not saying that losing people's hands is fun, but, like, clearly this is a hoop you want to jump through, and they're like, yeah, we'll just give it the exact toughness to make it suck.
So
Enjoy your
fun.
set. And it's like, oh god. Fine. But turn 1. It's
Yeah.
brilliant. Turn
Yeah, and it
1,
went
that's
under the
nasty.
radar for a while. I mean, there were I remember at the time, no one thought anything of this card, and it became very popular, particularly in the red-black as opposed to the more ubiquitous blue-black Reanimator decks.
Yeah. I also recently made an appearance in Cry of the Carnarium. If you look really closely, that's a Sire of Insanity. So it's like, hey, girl, welcome back. But
Yep, it's also in the Ravnica monster stat block for Sire of Insanity.
I would have to go back and check, but I believe they gave this to LSV and or Channel Fireball. You know, this was one of those cards that, like, you know, this is a good card. It's supposed to be the good rare. And you're just like, oh, okay, that card's terrible. And that was Dragon's Maze the set, y'all.
Right.
God almighty.
Yeah, all of the cards in that set were bad. I don't think I'm able to flip right to the page that has Sire of Insanity on it, but there's a stat block for it in the Ravnica book.
great.
Nice. Well, look, for my number 2, we have to gotta go back a little old school, okay? Not all of the demons were busted back in the day. I mean, my God, we're at this point, 2006, I guess. In terms of technology, we've got this crazy set Future Sight with all these crazy mechanics, and one of them happened to be so good that it is currently crushing Modern, if I believe I'll be correct in that assessment. Because the OG, before Gristle Daddy, there was Tombstalker. Tombstalker showed up from Future Sight as a 2 black, 6 generic mana flying 5/5 with Delve, meaning each card you exile from your graveyard while casting the spell pays for 1 generic mana. So for 2 mana, you'd have a flying 5/5, and that used to be like the bar. That used to be the thing that would kill people in Legacy, the thing that would kill people in Standard. Like, it was a thing that was just really great, really awesome, but as the time wound on, it lost its luster a little bit, but it'll always be, you know, high up there in my heart. That's where he is.
Yeah.
That's fine.
This was my number 9.
Okay.
Really great card. The centerpiece of the old Team America bug-colored control decks that were around Hymn to Torok and Tombstalker. Really powerful combination of being able to just finish stuff off. Also, Ava Green, or Eva Green, depending on how you pronounce the deck, which was a Nantuko Shade kind of mono-black thing. Tombstalker's great and was the first appearance of Delve, which, as we've noted, has been broken a number of times ever since with Treasure Cruise, Dig Through Time, and of course now Hogak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, this was a card that I was surprised to see when I first started dipping my toe in the Legacy, where I was like, is this happening? Like, this is happening? And like, yeah, and I mean, now, I mean, the Delve has become just such a staple of Legacy, but with Gurmag, Angler, Tassiger, you have so many decks that it's so easy to fill your graveyard in these older formats. And so for those really, really grindy games, sometimes just, you know, sort of a vanilla fire can get there. It's pretty miraculous.
Delve is just, I mean, cost reduction mechanics are almost always busted. They're just, they can't price it the right way. It's either perfect for standard, i.e. Treasure Cruise, and just broken everywhere else, or it's just way too high in numbers and nobody cares anymore. And all right, sure, they can just keep taking bites of the Delve apple if they want to. It's kind of weird and awkward. It's fine. It's totally fine. Come on here to our number 1. Oh my goodness. Who shares a number 1? Raise your hand. Aaron, I'll give you this one. What's your number 1?
So it's only fitting. Father's Day was Sunday?
Yeah.
Yep.
And I can't think of anybody. I called my dad and I let him know that I was okay. And I told him a card was in the mail. And then I also spent time with my other dad. He has never let me down. He has never broken my heart. He loves me unconditionally. My number one is Gristle Brand, and I think it's yours too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Gristle Brand is a 4 and 4 black, 7/7 flying lifelink demon, which
I like that you don't know how much it costs. It's irrelevant information.
Wow.
It's a flying lifelink 7/7, which is fine. You'll take it for that. But then you can pay 7 life and draw 7 cards. I mean, in Modern, you play it with Goryo's Vengeance, which is now Boryo's Vengeance, thanks to Ilhard, which is amazing. So you play Gristle Brand in Modern. You can do things with Goryo's Vengeance. In Legacy, you can reanimate this. You can cast it with, you can do a show and tell. You can do those shenanigans. You can play this in Vintage, where you play with Oath of Druids. Nobody's paying full price with this, but this is
Right.
game changer. The card advantage that this thing gets you, and it fuels itself with 1 hit. You're drawing 7 cards again. That is dastardly. Like, there's just nothing better than this.
Gristle Brand is just the end all, more or less be all. And literally the only thing wrong with Gristle Brand, literally the only thing, is that it doesn't have 7 mana as its mana cost. It has 8.
Yeah, but could you really have it cost 7?
I don't think so. I think it would have.
For me, the only issue I have with it was I think he deserved more of a story moment. He dies really quickly in the story. Like, you would think a creature of this caliber would have gotten to be a little more, but he drops as quick as the others do. And it's like, that ain't right.
Considering that the other of Liliana's demons, which is who we're talking about here, Liliana, of course, signed a contract, really, made a pact with 4 demons named Kothafed, Gristle Brand, Razaketh, and Pelzenlock.
Who now all have cards.
He's banned from Commander too.
And now they all have cards, yes. And that's right. And I think that Gristle Brand was the first of the demons she encountered, at least in our timeline. Yeah. Although Magic Origins had Kothafed in it, which was further back in that timeline. Whatever.
Which is fine. Yeah.
Gristle Brand in Sneak and Show, in any Reanimator deck, French Rights, while it was in Standard, but of course now in Modern and in Legacy, also in Oath and Vintage. It couldn't have been anything else, really, I don't think.
You compare it with Lab Maniac?
Amongst other sundries, this is a card that is just amazing. It was nuts from the start. It was insane. Like, from the get-go, you're like, this card is ridiculous. I guess
I'll never forget the time I went to the Avacyn Restored pre-release, and I lost to a young man who was playing Gristle Brand. And it was so annoying because he kept trying to make his deck sound better than it was. He was like, I had this little synergy right here, and I had this enchantment. I was like, you had Gristle Brand, okay? It was like, it didn't even matter what the rest of your deck did. Like, just
correct.
Think, And so he kept trying to make his deck sound like this well-oiled machine, and I was like, just own it.
You had a broken mythic. Congratulations.
The rest of it, you can have Allosaurus Rider in your deck. It doesn't matter. We can have Nourishing Shoal. And all that really matters is Gristle Brand.
So many nicknames. Lord and Savior Gristle Brand, Gristle Band, Gristle Dad, Gristle Daddy.
Yeah, Gristle Daddy.
I like to say Daddy. I like to say whenever I reanimate, I say Daddy's home. It's amazing.
That's awesome. And Gristle Brand, of course, again, is just, if you're going to pick one, that's definitely
$20 card.
Yeah, being reprinted as much as it has. There you go. But that was our top 10 demons. You will see them on the screen right now. For your review, take a look at my list, Aaron's list, Ruben's top 10. We want to hear from you about what demon we did not talk about, and we'll select our favorite to win a $50 gift certificate to CoolStuffInc.com. But before we go, I want to thank my co-host. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Ruben.
Thank you.
We're going to move on here to our final slide. All right. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Aaron Campbell and Ruben Bresser. You guys for watching and listening, and hope you support us at Patreon.com/MagicMikes. Follow, like, favorite, tweet, share, subscribe, do everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online at Twitch.tv at MagicMikes, on Twitter at MagicMikesCast, our Magic Mikes subreddit, and like the Magic Mikes page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at MagicMikesPodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at MagicMikesPodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes and Spotify. Or join us here next week, same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mikes. Good night, everybody.